At 6, Hurricane Milton has crossed over Florida into the Atlantic, leaving a number of deaths and destruction in its wake. At least 4 people have died, buildings have been destroyed, and more than 3 million homes are without power. The hurricane triggered a number of tornadoes, this the moment one tore the tops off trees on Florida's coast. Hurricane Milton has slammed into Florida, swept across the state, and is now out in the Atlantic, leaving behind it a trail of destruction. You can see here the path that it took, hitting landfall last night and causing flooding, widespread power cuts, and leaving at least 4 people dead. Millions have been left without power. Winds of up to 120 miles per hour pounded the state. 19 tornadoes were confirmed. This is Sarasota, just south of Tampa. In nearby St. Petersburg, more than 45 centimetres of rain fell there in a day what has been described as a 1-in-1,000-year event. The city's drinking water supply has been cut off. Let's get our first report from our North America editor, Sarah Smith, who's in Orlando.
A deadly tornado ripped through St. Lucie County, wreaking havoc and killing 4 people, many miles from where the worst of the storm was expected to hit. This utterly mangled metal structure trapped the county sheriff's vehicles inside, hampering their response. There were over 100 twisters spawned by Hurricane Milton that tore up and down parts of Florida, further spreading the damage. But as bad as this looks, the state had been prepared for worse.
The storm was significant, but thankfully this was not the worst case scenario. The storm did weaken before landfall, and the storm surge, as initially reported, has not been as significant overall.
It's okay, Bubba. It's okay.
In Tampa, police body cam footage shows the operation to rescue 15 people, including children, after a tree crashed into this house. In the nearby city of Venice, the wide-scale spread of the destruction became obvious as the sun came up after a savage battering overnight. Despite all the damage that you can see, the impact of Hurricane Milton was actually much less catastrophic than had been feared, and obviously that's a relief. That doesn't mean, though, there won't be highly politicised arguments now about the efforts to help the people who need it most. Tropical Storm Helene, only 2 weeks ago, devastated parts of Florida as well as Georgia and the Carolinas, breeding a slew of disinformation and conspiracy theories. President Biden has warned that out-and-out lies are undermining rescue and relief efforts.
They're saying that money needed for these crises are being diverted to migrants. What the heck are they talking about? Stop it. It's outrageous. It's just not true.
As residents in Plant City start their own clearing up, they have been promised that the US government will send whatever help's needed, but the imminent presidential election is encroaching. Just listen to this response from Donald Trump.
Hopefully on January 20th, you're going to have somebody that's really going to help you and help you like never before, because help is on the way. Together we will rebuild, we will recover, and we will come back stronger, bigger, better than ever before.
Torn fragments are all that's left after the hurricane shredded the fiberglass roof of the baseball stadium in Tampa. Even the emergency response workers who had been using this as a base had to shelter from the winds of over 100 miles an hour. Efforts to repair and rebuild after this hurricane will take months, well beyond the political squabbling that could last until the election 26 days from now. Sarah Smith, BBC News, Florida.
Well, the hurricane struck land around 60 miles south of Tampa Bay, which is home to around 3 million people and has caused major flooding and power blackouts. Our correspondent Gordon Carrera was in Tampa when it hit and joins us now. Gordon, what was it like?
It was pretty intense. The wind and the rain were really strong through the night in Tampa, but I think there was relief that the big storm surge that people feared might hit the city didn't come. But today I've been going down the Florida coast where Milton did make landfall to try and look at the impact on communities here. And here they've certainly been picking up the pieces and counting the cost, as I've found. Country Lakes Retirement Community lies just north of where Milton made its landfall on the coast last night. And parts of this community were hit hard, as daylight revealed in the morning.
There's my house right down there.
We found Sharon returning to her home, which sits on the corner of Paradise Way and Tranquility Lane.
I wonder if I can get in.
You going to try?
Yeah.
Her house is one of the worst hit.
I was hoping it would have been better, but I guess it's not as bad as it could be. I could have come here and the whole thing would have been ripped out, you know.
Others in this tight-knit community had decided to hunker down in their homes for the hurricane and see what it brought. We found Stella cleaning up after a long night.
Oh, it went boom! And I was in the closet and I was like, oh my God, what was that? And Russ says the window blew. And I woke up Bobby and he was like, what's going on? What the hell's going on? What the heck's going on? And we got it taken care of, and that was it.
Roofs have been ripped off and some of the roads here are flooded and impassable. In the night, the winds also took down trees, leaving residents like Joanne and her dog Buster with some close calls.
My neighbor had come and helped me get out.
It's good you've got neighbours to help, isn't it, around here?
Yes,
Feels like a bit of a community where people are helping each other.
They are. They're all concerned. I've been here 20 years in June, and this is the worst damage that I've had.
Milton could have been worse. Everyone here at Country Lakes knows that. But even so, recovering from this hurricane will still take time. Gordon Carrera, BBC News, Palmetto, Florida.
Let's go to our North America editor, Sarah Smith, in Orlando. Is the worst over now, Sarah?
Yes, it appears to be. And as you can see, the weather's actually not that bad at the moment. And we have just heard from the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, who says there have been 5 confirmed deaths now, but he fears that number might rise over the course of the day as they perhaps get to other outlying areas. And the scale of the disaster is becoming clearer as people are getting around. One of the biggest challenges is going to be restoring power and electricity. 4 million properties lost their electricity last night, and obviously that's going to hamper any recovery efforts. But it does seem, for once, that a lot of the people who were told to evacuate their homes because they were right in the dangerous path of the hurricane did so. 80,000 people spent last night in shelters rather than in their own properties, and that may have contributed to the relatively small, so far, loss of life after what was a very damaging but not quite as catastrophic as feared storm.
Sarah Smith in Orlando, thank you. The BBC has apologised for its weather app and website incorrectly forecasting hurricane-force winds since first thing this morning. The app has showed winds of almost 14,000 miles per hour in London and elsewhere across the UK and around the world. A spokesperson for the BBC Weather Service says they are working hard to fix it quickly.